Belichick have been without Tom Brady and vice versa. Like, they made each other. They both came along and had each other at the perfect time and turned each other into two of the best ever at what they've done. But I'm not sure either one of them ever would have gotten there without the other.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Manning, it's all on him.
It's kind of like Malone Stockton.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Very similar. Yeah, although they never even got one title, but.
True. Well, yeah, but it's like it's the same lines where you're never going to know whether Well, and Stockton and Malone, again, a good analogy, but if you look at it in depth, Malone or Stockton, one of those two always choked, whether it be against the Showtime Lakers or against the Bulls. So didn't always work out for them. But for Brady and Belichick, it always seemed to work out, or at least early on.
Yep. The other thing about Brady that I'm not sure Manning has is, like, let's say if they'd swap teams this year and say, or situations, and Manning starts out 2-2, has a couple bad games, isn't playing that well, and everybody's ripping him. I'm not sure he has that same competitive fire and anger inside him that Brady does. I don't know if he'd necessarily respond that same way to everybody doubting him. Not that he's not a great competitor and everything, but he's more of a nice, friendly, smart guy who gets along with everybody, whereas Brady has that fiery, don't mess with me streak in him, I think.
I get what you're saying. You're saying Manning's a front runner and Brady's not.
Yeah. I think Brady's faced more adversity in his football career than Manning has.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, I kind of, it sounds stupid to say since, looking at their careers in general, but, I mean, I've had this argument, it's not even an argument, I've just had this conversation with people.
Right.
You put Ryan Leaf in Indianapolis. I mean, you got Marvin Harrison already there, Marshall Faulk already there. I mean, you got good pieces in general. In Indianapolis, Ryan Leaf goes to a crappy situation in San Diego. I'm not saying that the roles long term reverse, but you give Ryan Leaf, a better chance at least at success than he had in San Diego. San Diego, he had no shot. He had that crap that he had around him was terrible. It was just awful. Long term, I'm saying that you look at Ryan Leaf, he probably has a better shot if he gets those type of players early on in his career.
Yeah, I mean, look at Brady had one season where he had great receivers, and he broke all kinds of passing records that year. And Manning had a bunch of seasons. Also, Manning played in the Dome most of his career, which makes an enormous difference. Brady's played in all these awful cold weather, horrible games in New England, and Manning's mostly played in great conditions.
Who would you say has had who had the best single season receiving core? Peyton or Tom Brady? Tom Brady with Dante Stallworth, with Randy Moss, Wes Welker. Who do you think has the best?
The problem with comparing NFL seasons now is the rules are changing every year. The records are all skewed. That was another thing. That was actually the basis of that Simmons article, is that you can't compare stats now to even a few years before. So when that Pat's 2007 season came around, when he had everybody going, and he set the touchdown record 50, I think it was. I thought that was the greatest season we'd ever seen. And then Manning comes around and breaks that record a few years later. But I don't know. I haven't watched enough of Manning in other games outside of when he played the Pats to get a good idea of what he's really like. But I think if I had to pick one season, you could probably point out that his best season is probably a little better than Brady's best season. But then if you factored in playoffs, I'm not sure where that would end up.
As far as NFL in general goes, do you think, I know you have a little bit of a biased opinion because they got blown out by the Patriots in Foxborough one time, but are the Arizona Cardinals the best team in NFL right now?
Maybe. I mean, I don't really see how it's possible, but the NFL is weird. It's so hard. With the NBA, you can look at teams, you can look at the roster, and you can figure out who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. And you can predict it at the beginning of the year, and you know who the contenders are going to be. I mean, there's a little bit of variety one way or the next, but you know. The NFL, you just don't know. I mean, the Cardinals, it doesn't make any sense. They've got a good defense. They've got some players making plays, but they don't have anything that you would pick out and point to them as being good. And that's why, I mean, nobody's really believed in them all season. Now, this week, all of a sudden, now that they have the best record in the league alone, the only one-loss team, they're going to get all kinds of hype. But I'm not sure they're really any better this week than they were week one, or even they closed out last season really strong. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they might be the best regular season team. I don't think they're going to win the NFC. I would assume they're going to get, handled pretty easily by whichever. I want to say it might not be Denver, New England, but at this point it looks like it. Either one of those offenses, I think, might tear them apart if it got to the Super Bowl. But, I mean, look at, like, Dallas. A couple weeks ago, they were looking like the best team in the league. Now they've dropped a couple. The Chargers started out 4-0. They were looking great. Now they look horrible. They just got shut out by the Dolphins. So, like, this goes back to what we were saying about the Patriots before. I mean, the whole season's up and down. Like, right now, this week, maybe the Cardinals are. 3 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, playoff time, I'd be shocked if they were the best team.
As far as the, NFC goes, well, really the NFL goes, has there been anybody, like, I've watched a lot of football. I haven't really been impressed by anybody. Arizona looks hit and miss. Again, Cowboys look hit and miss. I don't know who to pick. It's classic NFL where you're 8 weeks in and you don't know who the hell to pick to go to the Super Bowl. But has there been anybody that's really impressed you, as a whole, like for more than 4 weeks? Has anybody impressed you for more than 4 weeks?
Well, the Pats are on 5 weeks running right now, but I bet they're in for a tough stretch coming up. And honestly, no. And it's so weird. And even if you look at recent Super Bowl winners, they've been impossible to predict for the most part earlier in the season. Like, I guess Seattle wasn't that crazy a shot last year. But the year before, the Ravens, they came out of nowhere. Both times the Giants won. Like, one of those times they were 9-7. When the Packers won a few years back, they were 9-6. It's just whichever team gets hot, a week or two before the playoffs start. And it can happen in so many different ways. And, I mean, I'd be shocked if it wasn't Denver or New England out of the AFC. And I think if they're probably playing in the title game, and whoever wins that title game is probably going to win the Super Bowl, I would guess, but I have no confidence in that whatsoever. And there's probably, 5, 6, 7 NFC teams that could all easily get to the Super Bowl right now, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's that one division. The whole division is over 500. And then, like, the Saints, they looked awful in the beginning. They're coming around. They could get hot. I mean, if I had to pick an NFC favorite right now, I wouldn't even think I'd pick the Cardinals just because they don't really have a star quarterback, and I don't trust their offense. I might go with somebody like Green Bay, but I don't know. It's a crapshoot, and anybody that tells you otherwise, I think, is just making stuff up.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break here on the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com. I'm going to give a shout-out to Dylan Badura, former rival of mine in high school tennis and fellow friend of mine on the high school baseball team at Roncalli. If you want to call in after the break, the number is 585-633-7487. You're listening to the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
do some wailing with Van Halen on my radio. Parachute pants, skinny ties, Michael J. Fox, family ties, 1984. Radio, 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 radio. Don't want no more 90s shit. Nirvana was cool and maybe Pearl Jam, but that was it. Give me Springsteen, rock and roll, Cheap Trick, not Oingo Boingo. Hey, Joey Ramone, leave Michael Jackson at home. Radio, 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 radio. Radio, 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 radio. One-hit wonders, they're all stars. Billy Joe, the alarm, boombox hanging on my arm. Radio, 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 radio.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome back to the Bob Sullivan Show here on latenightsportsradio.com. It's actually titled The Bob Sullivan Show, not the Bob Sullivan Show. I'm back here with Mark Van Heusen, LooseSportsman.com, Bleacher Report, Handside. Mark, how you doing?
I'm good.
Early season, Boston Celtics. I mean, first off, Rajon Rondo broke his hand early in preseason training camp.
Yep.
On a mysterious injury. We'll just leave it at that. And, you don't know what you're really going to get from Avery Bradley. And you kind of have the next Rajon Rondo / Avery Bradley with Marcus Smart and James Young. So far, early on in this season, what have you liked and what have you disliked from this Celtics team so far?
Oh, it's funny. They played two games that were pretty much night and day. Opening